Hello, I'm recording this just before our next storm arrives, and so I just want to say that you're all in my prayers for your safety and for your well-being, and that we'll also be praying, of course, for people who are likely to be hard hit by the weather that we're going to have over the next 24 to 48 hours. And if you know somebody who's struggling, or if there's anything we can do to offer practical help or assistance, please do let us know using the contact details in the video description. But this morning, I want to speak about something other than the weather. I don't know about you, but I think perhaps the worst thing for me about events that are unfolding along the Ukraine is that feeling of powerlessness I get at not being able to do anything to help the situation. I'm sure that's something we can all empathise with. I'm sure we all feel at times when we see these headlines that these things are so big or they're so far removed from us geographically that there's not much that we can do to help. There are lots of things that make us feel like that, aren't there? But watching the news this week, I've been left wondering what is going to happen next. Is there going to be a major invasion or a slow withdrawal of troops? Will there be a return of war to Europe or a deal that will bring peace? I haven't got a clue what is going to happen. Now, sometimes when bad things happen, fear can be managed by action. So, for example, I think we were able to keep some of the terror of COVID contained because of the steps we could take to keep ourselves and the people who we love safe. And I think to a degree we can say the same thing about the climate crisis, because we can manage that a little bit by the decisions that we choose to make to live a more sustainable life. But with the Ukraine, or it feels to me at least, that there's nothing that we can do that can make a difference. We're powerless. And if we're worried in Wales and the UK, what must it be like for those who are in Kiev and Donbass? Or those whose families are in the Ukraine? I imagine they must feel a little bit like pawns in the game where the rules haven't been explained properly for people who are struggling to take back control of their lives. Powerlessness exasperates fear. It can cause fear, can't it? It can see fear grow. For the powerful in first century Palestine, Jesus must have seemed utterly devoid of power. He was born into poverty. He spent his life hanging around with total nobodies. He never had any money. And in the eyes of the authorities, he died a timid and pathetic death after all his friends and all his followers had abandoned him. He didn't even put up a struggle. But for me, and for millions of Christians all around the world, the selfless love that Jesus shows on the cross is the most powerful thing in this world, in the universe, ever. It's that love that started a movement that went on to change the world and is continuing to change the world through love. It's a driving force that inspires Christians worldwide to work, to build a peace and for the good of everyone, doesn't matter who you are. And that made me think that maybe there's a different way of viewing the crisis in the Ukraine, that maybe there's a different lens at which we're able to look through at the things which are happening. Okay, we may not have the power to stop a vast Russian army in its tracks, but what we do have is that ability to model that love that is self-giving. It's living out the love that will bring peace into our lives and into our hearts, and not just for us, but for other people as well. Anyone can make that self-conscious decision to live not for themselves, so as we don't just live for ourselves, but that we live for other people too. And that, in my experience, has been a place where I have been able to find peace. Once again this week, I have no doubt that people will be rightfully consumed with worry and constantly checking their mobile phones to monitor developments around and in Ukraine, feeling powerless, playing the waiting game. But while there might be no instant solution, maybe we're not quite as powerless as we think we are. So my question to you is, how are you going to model that self-giving love in your life this week? That's a question that challenges me, but that excites me at the same time. And I hope it is the same for you. God bless and take care.